Hey everybody, welcome back to Horror Trans. My name is Stephanie Bree, and I'm a transgender woman, and I talk about all things horror. And I know what you're saying. Schindler's List is not a horror film, and you're half right and you're half wrong. But it is worth talking about, so let's get into it. So I have to get into some disclaimers. This movie is an actual true story. So this is not one of those made-up fiction stories. So trigger warning, bad things happen in this movie to good people. Bad people do bad things. This is a very intense movie. If you're a Holocaust denier, eat shit, don't watch this movie. Or watch this movie, but still eat shit. Now, further disclaimer, my grandpa fought in the war on the side of the Germans. He was a German soldier. Now, he was not in the SS. He was not a Nazi. He was not at Auschwitz. He was just a foot soldier. When he figured out that the Nazis were bad, he defected, came to America, and raised his family here. But it is worth mentioning that my family has ties to the atrocities, and I have to at least put that out there because it is one of the reasons why I wanted to watch this and review this movie. So I do have to mention that as well. You know, we definitely have German lineage in our family, and unfortunately anyone with German lineage has to at least reconcile with what happened in World War II, and also somewhat World War I, but, you know. Why am I talking about Schindler's List? Well, okay, it's not technically a horror movie, per se. I mean, it's more of a historical drama. But it is a horror movie because horrific, terrifying, evil things happen. It is very, very intense, and there are very intense moments of terror in this movie that will put you on the edge of your seat and make you feel like you're watching a horror movie, because it is very scary, because you're really rooting for these people, even though you know in the back of your mind, well, this doesn't end well, so eek. And it's graphic. It is extremely graphic. This movie is not light at all. This is a Steven Spielberg movie that bucks the trend, and he actually made a serious, legit movie, which is one of the reasons why he, became a god in Hollywood, because they're like, oh yeah, he's not just doing sci-fi family puppet movies. He can actually make real fucking films with an actual impact on human. I'm going to choke up as I talk about this movie, fair warning. It's a 3-hour movie, and basically it spends the entire 3 hours kicking you in the gut every second. You do not get a moment of respite in this movie at all. It is just gut punch after gut punch after gut punch for 3 hours. Why would you subject yourself to this? Well, why do we do anything? Well, as a horror fan, you might be drawn to this movie because it is a horrific movie. It's black and white. Stylistically, it is similar to a horror movie. It does use shadows and lighting really well. So, and it's got some gruesome deaths. Unfortunately, those were real people. So that's where the gut punch comes in, because you're like, ah, damn, fuck the Nazis. If you watch this movie and your first thought isn't fuck the Nazis, you're a goddamn Nazi. That's all there is to it. There is no middle ground. You cannot watch this movie and not come out of it hating the fucking Nazis. Or you're dead inside, which means you're probably a Nazi anyways. I don't know. But you can't come out of this movie and not hate the fucking Nazis. So anyways, the story. So there's a man. Well, it starts out, they're in the ghetto. So what is the ghetto? People today think ghetto. They hear the word ghetto, they think Compton, they think South LA. They think south side of Chicago. No. This was where the word ghetto originated. So the ghetto is basically the Jewish district. It's where the Nazis rounded up all the, quote, good Jews and locked them up in this little community. And what the Nazis meant by the good Jews is the ones they can use for basically slave labor. The ones that were useful to them. Everybody else went straight to Auschwitz and got burned alive in the concentration camp. Not a good start for the movie. And you're basically seeing this Jewish man who is scrambling his, like, just desperately trying to get people work papers so that he can take them to this job. Because he's like, we got to keep you alive. And the Germans are like, what can you do? And people are like, I can sweep the floor. And they're like, yeah, you're going to Auschwitz. And this guy shows up and they're like, no. He's an essential worker. He can operate a machine in the manufacturing. And he's always trying to save their lives. At the same time all this is going on, there's a German businessman who is a failed businessman who wants to use the, we'll just say, the situation to his advantage, as was what was common practice at the time. So he starts out as a bad guy, right off the bat. He's like, look, I'm going to buy your factory from you. You're going to give me the money to buy it because it's illegal for you to own property. And you're going to work for me as basically slaves. But I'm going to pay you in, like, commodities, that, you know, household goods, so you can, like, live a comfortable, kind of tolerable existence in this ghetto. And they're like, why should we help you? You're a dirty German. And he's like, because you don't have a choice. It's either work for me or you don't want me to finish that sentence. And they're like, yeah, you know what? You're actually right. So they go to work for him. They give him the money. They start up the factory. And he's building basically pots and pans and cookware for the military, for the German army, you know, for the Nazis, to go fight their war. Their evil, unjust war. Let's put that out there. As the movie progresses, he slowly starts to see how disgustingly god-awful the Germans are, the Nazis are. He's like, God damn. At first, he's just like, you killed one of my workers, I want compensation. And they're like, no, we killed a Jew. It's the same thing as an animal. Go away. Leave us alone. And they're like, he's like, that's bad. And then they kill more people, and he's like, that's bad. And then they just murder the whole fucking ghetto. They just they just, like, murder everybody. This is all real. This really happened. This is a true story. And he comes home and he's like, where are my people? And they don't even fucking respond. They're just like, get the fuck out of here. They're not your people. They were our animals. That's literally their dialogue. That is how they that is how they talk about the Jewish people in this movie. And so he rounds up the few survivors he's able to find and reopens the factory and tries to save their lives. And the Germans are, like, doing more bad things. And he realizes he's run out of time. They don't need his cookware anymore. They don't need his labor camp anymore. They just need to finish the job. And the Nazi gives a speech. There were once Jews in Poland, but today that is a fact of history, no longer a fact of reality. Something to that effect. Basically, they go extinct today. And then he's like, yeah, time to kill him. And so the guy makes a deal with the Nazis. He's like, look, I'll pay you whatever you want per person. I'll give you whatever you want. You name your price. What is a man's life to you, worth to you? I'm going to give you that. I'm going to send these people to a factory in another country where they'll be safe-ish, safer. And we're going to build bombs for the Germans now instead. This whole time, the Nazis are doing evil thing, and you're watching people you have grown to care about get mistreated or murdered randomly. And I mean randomly. And you're just like, God damn, is anybody going to survive? And you're like, if you read a history book, you're like, yeah, I don't know. I know where this is going, and I'm already crying. And I'm only an hour and a half into the 3-hour movie, and I'm already crying, and oh my God, I got to keep going. There's another hour and a half. And so he moves them on trains to his new factory, except the dirty Nazis double-cross him and accidentally, on purpose, ship the women to Auschwitz, where they're gonna gas them. And he flips out, and he's like, fuck no, these are my people. And so he goes and cuts a deal to pay even more money to rescue the women, to get them back to their families. And while he's there, he also rescues some of the children. He's like, these are my children as well. So he rescues the children. And this is the part where I'm going to cry. And I apologize. This movie's hard to watch. and the families get reunited. And then he's giving a tour of the factory, and all of a sudden he realizes, because the news is coming over the radio, the war's over, the Nazis have lost. And I'm not going to spoil the ending because that's like, you know, the whole point of the movie. But this movie is going to fuck you up. Even though it's not technically a horror movie, you should still watch it. And this is a 10,000% buy. I don't know if you have the emotional constitution to watch it repeatedly, but, you know, you're going to want to watch it at least once, and you're going to want to have it on reserve in case you ever need to be reminded of how evil the fucking Nazis were. Just in case you see one of them, I don't know, running for fucking president, and you need to be reminded that they're scumbags and don't vote for Trump.